This session is to show you how to add grid columns to your grid display. In all tabs of our application, and including the logbook section, you make the changes the same way. In all those windows, you find a button called Grid Settings that will allow you to change the grids that show up in your particular report or screen. So in this particular screen right now, I have title, organization name, referred volunteers, place volunteers, and profile types. If I want to change those, I'll click on the grid settings. That will bring up a second window that will show me those grid columns. There's several areas here, so I'm going to cover each of them individually. One, because every display is different, we actually have a width column, and this is the number of characters for each of those columns that they display. So if you find a particular value is not wide enough to show all the information that you want to show, you can change this value up to the value of this piece to the right. Second thing you can change is sort order. If your column allows it to be sorted, it will either have a number next to it or it will have this little dash. What this dash means is that it can also be sorted. So the way you change sort order is click on the number. That will bring up a window where you can select those values that are sortable. You select one value, then you can select a second value, and if there's eligible third value, once you select the second one, the third one will come up. Once you click OK, those settings will be incorporated. Third section of this is how you actually move information back and forth between these screens. The screen on the right shows you the columns that you have in the order that they are listed. So this is top to bottom equals left to right. Let's say there was another column we wanted to add of data to these rows that are currently existing. We click on Opportunity, and this will show all the fields that are a part of the opportunity. We can select one of those fields, and in this particular case, I'm going to bring over the address columns, city, and state. So you can select the column that you want to bring over, click the double-headed arrow, and it gets added, or you can just double-click on the item, and it will add. Same thing works in reverse. If you want to subtract an item, you can select it, hit the double-headed arrow, or double-click on it, and it'll get removed from those lists. I'll move all those back over again, and now I'm going to add the city and state. These are arranged on this left side alphabetically. The way you arrange them on the right, I'll show you in just a second. And let's add zip code just to add everything. Any of the UDF groups will be listed as separate elements in the profiles, and you can add elements from those as you need to. Typically, you're not going to need to do that for any of the grids you're going to create. Let's go ahead and close that. Let's say I want to actually move these up. I don't want the profile types listed, so I'm going to select the profile types and remove that. But I want to actually move these up under the organization name. So I can select an individual item, click the Move Up button, that will move that item up. I can also multi-select by holding down my Control key, clicking on each of those additional elements. Then when I move it, they move up as a block. Once I have them positioned, I have the ability to do a couple things. I can just click OK. That will take my current view and change it on the site. That will become my new view. Or I can actually save this. If I want this grid to appear in my saved grid list, I can change the name. I can name it and save it. So I'm going to call this one Test Grid. I'm going to click Save. It will save this test grid. And you'll see it's in my list. There are also some other ones here, and I'll show you how to make those changes here in a second that have been saved previously. Administrative users have the ability to check this button. That's usually only at a very high level in your organization, can actually share out grids to users on the system. As you can imagine, with 200 schools, if everybody shared out 10 grids, you'd have 2,000 grids in your list, and we wouldn't want that to happen. But The administration may decide that there are some grids that are very valuable, and so they may share those out to you. End of session reports, those type of things, they may share out to make this easier for you to actually run the reports. Once you've saved your grid, or not, you don't need to save your grid, you click OK. The screen will update and will change to your view. And as you can see now, my address, 1, 2, city, state, and zip, come between organization name, referred and place volunteers, and my profile types is gone. In addition to creating my own grid view, any of the grids that I've saved or that have been shared to me are also available to me in this list. And changing to that grid is just as easy as selecting the grid from the list. It will run and move that information in. If I want to switch back to my previously saved grid, I can go and click the name of that grid and bring it up. Now, if I was looking at a particular view and I had not saved it, unfortunately, I'll have to go back and create those fields again. The system does remember, even if you don't save it, the system does remember your last grid view when you exit. So I'm in this test grid view. If I close this window and relog back into eCoordinator again, it will bring up my last grid that I had visible. And that ends our session for this time.